It's been a bloody phenomenal weekend for horror fans, and I haven't been this excited to talk about two films in a long time. And it mainly has to do with the horror geek within me constantly praying and wishing for absolutely scary films to be seen on the big screen. And I won't lie to you, I was absolutely raging at the sheer absurdity that I saw in Pope's Exorcist just last week. So, hoping that Sam Raimi's brainchild in the form of the Lee Cronin directed film Evil Dead Rise does not disappoint me, I went in for the midnight show on Thursday in a mostly packed theatre. Another indication that Indian audiences will celebrate horror films, and even more so if they're made well. One needs to be psychologically ready before stepping in for an Evil Dead installment, because this is not any other generic horror franchise. The Sam Raimi product that dates back all the way to 1981 is all about gore, violence, and certain campy silliness that makes it unique compared to any other film. If you ask me personally, I am absolutely obsessed with Evil Dead 2 that released in 1987 and did not mind the 2013 version also. Being absolutely stoked because of the Red Band trailer that dropped with Evil Dead Rise, I was ready to be spooked, shocked, and laugh as well, because these are the expected beats of emotions that one does experience in an Evil Dead film. The movie focuses on Ellie, played by Alyssa Sutherland, who is raising 3 children, and her sister Beth, played by Lily Sullivan, visits her after a long time. An earthquake leads to the son Danny exploring and finding an area with religious artifacts, music records, and the infamous Book of the Dead that is basically a calling for shit to hit the fan. The possession of the mother leads to absolute carnage in this dilapidated city residence, and the mania that follows basically forms the premise of this efficiently edited and wildly entertaining 1 hour and 40-minute film. I have to say from the onset that because the movie is of a brief running time, I have mentioned, the creators leave no stone unturned to go crazy from the word go. The sheer hysteria that followed with the first kill in the film and the exceptional frame as the title card appeared on the screen, you knew you were going to sit for an absolutely wild ride. Stephen McKeown has done the music for this film, and its sound design as well plays a huge part in truly grasping your attention and momentarily making your jaw drop. There are barely any jump cuts in the film. The movie depends on an A certificate shock value of the gruesome nature with which the ghost kills humans around her, and especially shines because of the claustrophobic atmosphere it creates, as the movie is mostly set in the apartment and the corridor of the building. Some of the cinematic shots are straight out of a Sam Raimi book, and what I like about this film is that it tethers on the thin line between providing an homage to the franchise while at the same time just not being bait to satisfy fans of the installments. The peephole shot literally sent shivers down my spine, and while the screenplay of the film borders on being predictable and intentionally silly, I wondered why the film was so effective in its brief running time, and then I realized that it's so essential for the vessel communicating the dread to put forth an exceptional performance. When you think of a bone-chilling film like Hereditary and Toni Collette's performance, or something as iconic as Jack Nicholson from The Shining, or more specifically regarding this genre, say Bonnie Aarons as Valak from the Conjuring series, you need formidable actors to really dig deep and convince you of the supernatural being, and I have to say the core of why Evil Dead Rise works is Alyssa Sutherland as the mommy that goes on a rampage of violence. She is scary and intimidating, and her performance never borders on being gimmicky. While I do feel that the movie did extend its welcome in its third act, especially as Beth emerges as the hero of the story and it rains blood, an elevator full of it by the way, with the iconic chainsaw making its appearance as well, I really did have a fun ride watching this film that was all forms of gory, violent, silly and spooky, and essentially what one expects from an Evil Dead film. But little did I know that I would be surprised with another film this weekend, and that too from Telugu cinema. Virupaksha, a film directed by Karthik Dandu with the screenplay written by Sukumar, really engaged me, something that I did not envision because I literally went with zero expectations. The film focuses on Surya, played by Sai Dharam Tej, who visits his mother's village after many years. The mysterious deaths of people in the village alarms everyone, but a horrifying event occurs that leads to the people following the edicts, according to which they have to go on an 8-day lockdown to ensure that they curb the evil that wants to envelop their village and kill everyone. How Surya uncovers the history of the village and why the evil spirit may be after the lives of the people is essentially the story of Virupaksha. The one thing that will stick with you regarding this film is the music by Ajanish Loknath. The film is not dependent on low-hanging fruit tricks in the horror genre to entice you. It largely depends on the atmosphere that it builds, and it gets heightened further by the music and sound design of the movie, which is honestly something to marvel at and something that can only be experienced in its most raw and real form in the theatre. The way the audience was gasping, shouting and screeching had a lot to do with the music composed that perfectly blends in the screenplay, making the mysterious events of the film even more horrifying. The film sets the ball rolling like Kantara to provide provide you a brief context to the village and its origins. The folklore, the paranormal activity, the foreshadowing of the dread is already set, and I clearly understood that this has to be a Sukumar project to be nuanced versus any other horror flick to go for the weekend. The two gripes that I do have with the film, which I want to express to you before I start raving about the film again, is that the special effects and a huge dependence on CGI and its climax really is a huge demerit of this film. I understand that it's reflective of the tight budget the movie is working with, but the movie builds up so exceptionally merely through the atmosphere the story created, so its dependence on special effects to convey the power of evil often looked cartoonish rather than intimidating. The second point is that I am in two minds about Sai Dharam Tej's performance in this film. He does bring forth an intensity in this movie, especially when there is a curiosity about the case and the origins of the village. But when it's demanded from Sai to put forth an emotional performance, especially with Samyukta's character, I feel like he falters a lot in communicating the same. This is true for even his reaction shots, almost doing too much when not required. He also lacks the physical agility required for a role like this, constantly wanting him to run from one place to another. The performance entirely isn't a miss, but I did find his performance to be awkward in several moments. The standout performer, however, of this film is Samyukta Menon for me, who really gives a heart and soul to the character both physically and emotionally. These kind of roles are extremely tricky for actors as they can easily border on becoming unintentionally funny, but Samyukta as Nandini really shines, especially as we dig deeper in understanding her personality and origin story. The production design of the village and the cinematography by Shamdat Sainuddin needs to be lauded, and what I do love about this film and its gruesome nature is that one can envision or foreshadow the event that will take place, the life that will be lost, but it is executed so well that the anticipation becomes the horror and one could visibly feel the anxiety of the theatre, wondering what lies ahead, making this film, if it is in your city, definitely a must watch on the big screen. If I do have some time in the week, I will want to do a full spoiler talk about this movie because there is so much to uncover with the folklore and the mysticism that it explored. Kudos again to the screenplay written by Sukumar. A weekend definitely for horror fans. I could not recommend both films enough to you. And that was a video, guys. Write it down in the comments below what you thought about Evil Dead Rise and Virupaksha. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.